especially when you shared your story of your transition, right? You being stuck and trying to figure out how to unstuck yourself. And I'm like, that's where I am. I need to talk to her and just connect.
Welcome to the Unstuck Yourself with Crystal Simmons podcast. Here, you will raise your awareness to what is, and most importantly, what isn't working for you in all areas of your life, to identify your unique abilities and superpowers, to take purposeful action. We all get stuck, and now you can unstuck yourself with me every week. Now let's get unstuck, peeps. Hello, welcome back, peeps. Today is an interview episode with our dope guest, Sierra. So Sierra is a local realtor that specializes in educating first-time homebuyers on their journey to home ownership. After working in corporate America for 5 years, Sierra has decided to pursue opportunities that focus on philanthropy and volunteerism. Active in the community, Sierra is a member of Big Brothers Big Sisters of America, where she creates and supports one-to-one mentoring relationships that ignite the power and promise of the youth. Sierra is so dope. She holds a BA in Business Management from Virginia State University and her MBA from Virginia Commonwealth University, better known as VCU. When she is not focused on her clients' needs or professional development, you can find Sierra catching a flight somewhere with her family. Y'all enjoy this dope conversation that I have with my friend, little sister, Sierra. Hello, peeps. So here on Unstuck Yourself with Crystal Simmons podcast, we highlight my personal stuck moments and creating a safe space for others to share their moments of stuckness. So today, I get to chat with the dope Sierra. New last name, we'll talk about that. And before we dive into all the dopeness that you are creating and building, Sierra, can you please tell the piece about little Sierra that sits before, the little Sierra that created the way for the current Sierra that sits before me today?
I like the way you said that. So again, I am Sierra Rumber. Just got married, but touch on that in detail later. I am currently a realtor. My niche is first-time home buyers. So that is something that I push to do because I just bought my first house. So definitely more relatable in that aspect. But I guess a little bit about little Sierra, right? I am originally from Chicago, currently living in Richmond, Virginia. So getting to this point, I went to Virginia State University. Then I went ahead and got my master's at VCU. And then I worked for a utility company in the area for a while. So with various hats. Yeah.
When you were a little Sierra, what did you do for fun or for play?
Interesting. Everybody called me a fish, right? My grandmother had a pool, which was not a thing in Chicago to have a pool. So I grew up in the water. My mom was on the swim team when she was younger. And my thing growing up was I have to be just like my mom. So that's how the water started. So I was on the swim team, water polo. Didn't know what that was until I got into high school and we created this team because we love the water so much.
Wow.
Over. And it was like, what do we do next? And then our coach was like, well, we can start water polo. And we're like, okay. So yeah, definitely a fish as little Sierra. And a lot of my friends still, you're such a fish because me getting married in Jamaica, right? Destination wedding. Everything I did was water activities. Some people didn't want to go on a catamaran, but I'm like, I love the water. It's like my happy place, right? I kid you not. So I'm 28. My 28th birthday, my fiance at the time took me to the water park.
Aww.
And I had a blast. It was just like a kid at heart. So I had a really good time.
I didn't know anything about that. And I'm very glad I asked that question because I am now discovering how much water really centers me and brings about this peace. And because me and my husband went to celebrate our anniversary last year year before last, and we went to Holden Beach. It's a retirement, pretty much, community, but I didn't care. And he bought a tent where you can actually sit in it. And we had these little chairs that we just sat, and I just read my book. I think he was listening to a podcast or something. Hours here, hours on the beach.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm like, I could be out here all day. But then I got hungry, so then we had
I took a nap on the beach before, and it was just so peaceful. Dwayne and I got massages on the beach.
I never thought about that, a massage on the beach. Oh my goodness. Wow. I'm putting that on my list.
Yeah.
So, you've always been in the water, and you grew up in Chicago, so that's not normal for you to have a pool. So you've just been attracted to it, but then the love that your mom had for swimming just enhanced what you already felt innately. And I have to put it out there, like, too many people think Black people don't like the water. And I want to say that's bullshit. I do think not having access to can hinder anyone from wanting to explore more. But, yeah, let's dead that right there. We also had a pool growing up, but I was like in middle school, high school, and it was above ground pool. Well, it was supposed to be above ground, but the backyard wasn't level. So it's a whole thing that ended up getting, so they ended up taking it down. But the water, man. So how did you come to Virginia then, if you were in Chicago?
So, academic scholarship.
Okay.
That's where the money was. So,
how was that transition?
Being in Chicago is the city. We lived in a city, so fast paced. Coming down to Virginia, I thought it was country, right? And a slower pace for sure.
Any thoughts of when you did come? Were you fearful, excited?
Oh, I am a crybaby. Like when a crybaby, my husband still says it. I don't get my way. I pout. You know, it's a real thing. So I say that because when my parents left me, I cried in tears, like, take me back. Don't leave me. Because, you know, everybody's ready to be grown and leave the house. But it hit me like, I'm not just an hour or two where I can drive. It's a flight that I have to pay $300-$400 for, plan it out, especially when other students on campus, they could hop on 95 and go see family. And so it was hard. It was definitely hard. Crying, calling everybody. It's so funny. I just learned this a few years ago. So my mom, dad, and two younger sisters, they would all be in the living room, family night, whatever. And I would call my mom, then I'll call my dad, and then they're like betting, who do you think she's going to call next? Who do you think? Because they're all sitting in the living room. So it was, yeah, they just told me that. But I was like going to class, coming to my room and calling family because that's all I knew. My family, very tight. We have a family group chat. We all talk every day. My sister just called during our interview. So it's just like very close. So
shout out to you, because I didn't get to experience going off to college and going to like a university, whether it was like staying on campus or whatnot. My experience was I stayed at home so I could drive to my class. It was in Petersburg, so it was about 35 minutes away. And for you to cry makes sense of, it's such an abrupt change where, even though I didn't experience it, but I hear it from other people, how do you prepare for that? Like, no one really explains it to you. The only thing that's similar to that was me going through elementary school, middle school. I think that's when it hit me, middle school. I always had either my older sister with me or my younger sister with me. And then in middle school, I was in 6th grade and my older sister was in, I was in 6th grade and she was in 8th. So then when she went off to high school, I was in 7th, and my younger sister, I think, was in 5th. So I was just, or maybe even 4th, just by myself. Every day, Sierra, I cried when we stood for the Pledge of Allegiance. And I didn't know why. And I wasn't like boohooing, but I could feel like tears. I'm like, what is happening? I don't think I told my mom. I don't think I told my dad. I don't think I told anybody. And that was the way I did things. I kept it to myself. I can't say why, but shout out to you for like knowing my family is my rock. I'm going to go to that. There's nothing wrong with that. That is super dope.
And to on that a little bit, because you said middle school. So here, well, I say here, I'm not in Chicago, but in Chicago, we have K through 8th. So in one building. So we didn't really have that transition of middle school. I didn't learn about that until coming to Virginia. So that phase you had of crying in middle school, I had it in high school.
Oh.
That's when I had left the elementary building, I guess. And then, so it was first period. I didn't cry, but it was like, the lump in your throat, frog in your throat. Like,
yes.
Oh my gosh. So I get it. But mine was high school because I was in the same building with everybody, my 2 younger sisters, everybody that I knew since first grade. So it was, another smaller family, that friend circle I had already built. But going to high school, it was like, completely different. And elementary school, it was everybody in the neighborhood. So an amount of people, right? But high school, you have people that would commute 30, 40 minutes. We didn't have, so we had neighborhood schools, but you're able to test into other schools regardless of where you live. So now we have people coming from different parts of Chicago, different cities in general. So yeah, I get it.
That one, thank you, because little Crystal is very ecstatic. She shared that story again, because in my mind, I was like, should I tell it again? Because I've said it before on the podcast, and something told me to, little Crystal probably, because we have connected very quickly on a deeper level without even knowing it or trying it. So when you said that, no one else has said, I felt the same thing when I was in school and I transitioned. Cause I was like, maybe it's just me, but I knew it was something very, oh shit, like, what is that? And then you said it so beautifully, like the lump, that's what it was, a lump in the throat of, can't really breathe, I can't catch my breath. Why am I so stressed? Why am I so, back then, I would say stressed or whatever, irritated. It was more anxious. And I didn't know why. Like, what is wrong with me? That is our body communicating to us. And what you explained is what my husband went through, where he said they got to test into different schools. And he had talked about commuting and like getting on the bus or the train. I'm like, what? Because all we got these yellow buses. What are you talking about? So thank you for bringing that back up, because I'm just curious how many other people had the same experience you did alongside my husband. So let's take it to when we met. I would love to hear your perspective of what you thought of me, and then I'll share my perspective of what I thought of you when I first met you.
So we first met at a networking event, right? Mm-hmm. And you said dope. Like, that's your word. And it sticks. And that alone was like, who says dope? And I'm like, okay. And then you had the locks. I was just starting my lock journey. And you were just so free spirit, right? I wasn't used to someone in a professional setting, as you say, colorful words, right? As, being you. And she's younger, especially when you shared your story of your transition, right? You being stuck and trying to figure out how to unstuck yourself. And I'm like, that's where I am. I need to talk to her and just connect, see what she can share that I can incorporate, because I'm stuck, right? So I think that's the start.
That's beautiful. Every time I hear something like that, I'm very grateful for it, but I'm always like, oh wow, is that how I come off? Because some days I don't feel free. Some days I'm like, I could be freer. And that is my challenge of celebrating myself, but also pushing myself even more because I want to, not because I need to. So thank you for sharing that. And the way you put it, when you say I need to talk to her, I was sitting there. I didn't know anybody but Angela and then her sister. And then I did know Shanice, but I didn't know who would be there. I knew Angela would be there. And I walked, I was like, dope. It's a lot of women in here, different backgrounds. This is cool. And I told myself before I went, I'm just going to wear something comfortable because this was probably the first time I had been out and about in a networking event since COVID. Like it had been years. So a lot has changed since I last went out. Before I was in a major networking event, I paid a lot of money. You would wear business casual. So I was like, now I'm a coach. Because in that networking group, I was selling products. And I'm like, I am a coach. I have a different purpose. I'm coming fully as me because I want my client to be able to do the same. So I appreciate you saying that. I'm always looking to connect, but I am not the person that always goes to everybody and talks to them. I don't mind talking to everyone. So it depends. And when you came up to me, I was so happy. Yeah. I wanted to talk to you anyways, because you shared your story about you leaving the utility company and then starting as a realtor. And I'm like, that's dope. And she seems very young. And it sounds like she is, her story is similar to mine, but mine started when I was mid-30s. I am stuck. I have went to school. I went to become an x-ray tech. I advanced to an instructor, coordinator, the chief technologist, working with the director of radiology, meeting all the executives and blah, blah, blah. And I am miserable. And I was just so blown away that you were so young and you were saying the same things. And I'm like, that is dope. That is what today's younger generation is doing. And I'm all for it. Like the younger they are, yes. How can I support you? So when you came out, I was super excited. And we chatted a little bit. I think I started talking about the podcast. And that's when we like kind of text back and forth. Mm-hmm. And we definitely connected on Goody Howard's episode of cultivating a sex positive culture. That's probably one of the top 5 favorites of mine because it shook me so much. And we got to talk to Desiree too. Shout out to Desiree. It was just I felt so comfortable around y'all. I felt like I wanted to know more. And so Sierra and I would text back and forth. She would support the podcast and listen. And then I posted about Habitat for Humanity. And you were one of about 4 or 5 people who hit me up in my DMs when I posted the story about Habitat and said you wanted to come. And I was like, oh, this would be cool. But even before that, we went to lunch too. And that, that was fun. We gotta do that again. It was just so easy. I think before I used to always force things of, let's connect with people. And that would push people away. So I'm thankful that our connection has grown into curiosity, but also encouragement, friendship, now partnership. Yes. Y'all, I shared about the rainbow picnic. By the time you hear this, we would have already had all the fun at our first pop-up event for Love and Meet the Brew with Sierra, who is a third. I'm a third. And then our homie Elise is the other. So super excited that how it hasn't even been a year yet, Sierra, and we're partnering together. Like that is crazy.
Yeah. And I think at our initial, to go back, that event, I bought my ticket like an hour before the event. Wow. I didn't plan on going before. I don't even think I saw it. Or maybe I was like back and forth. Do I want to go? But anywho, so I'm so glad that I went, right? And I think another thing that you did, you called me out in a positive way. Because I shared my story, you were like, how old are you? I was like 28. You were like, exactly. Like, you are 28, and it takes so much courage. So you were already like feeding into me before we even did a one-on-one introduction. And I'm like, I definitely have to connect with her, right? Because like you said, it was just so organic. It didn't feel forced. And then texting you, going out to lunch, and like you said, we're partners now. So it all
It's
worked
so
out.
excited. And I'm gonna be extremely vulnerable. I was broke at that time, and I wanted to go to the event. I didn't tell Angela that. And when I say broke, I mean I didn't have any clients. I wasn't working part time, and maybe I had a couple of clients and getting money here and there. Like I was piecing things together. And when she said, I want you to be in my event, and I was like, I would love to go because I did want to go. And I was like, I can't pay for that. And she was like, don't even worry about it. I didn't tell her I can't pay for it. She was like, I just want you to show up, even if it's just you coming and just being yourself. So I was like, cool, I could do that. And thank God she did. Because one, the event was amazing, but I met so many, just you being so young, it was so inspiring. And just like, okay, she already knows herself way more and she's more aware. I think that's what it is. Awareness is huge. You're aware quicker. And if I could share my story to just empower other people to keep going, because that's what I did when I worked at the hospital. I would see people coming in as my employees and I would see how that environment kind of tainted them. So when they would come to me and say, Chris, I'm looking to work somewhere else, I'm like, go. What do you need from me? I would like for them to stay, but that is so selfish and it will tear down a person. I still have people hitting me up asking for me to write referrals for them. I left that job 3 years ago. I haven't been their boss. I haven't worked at that hospital in 3 whole years. My boss is still there. And I'm always surprised. I just had one woman. She was so young. If I said I have any regrets, it would be not promoting her. But intuitively, I knew that promotion would have broke her. And thankfully, my boss was like, no, we need to hire this other person that I didn't think was right, but he had been there longer. He was not a leader. She was. And we needed a leader. And so because my boss pretty much has the final word, I had to promote the other person. And her and I still talked. And I was like, I know this is hurtful. I get it. But I do think I don't think this is right. I think there's something else for you. She went to another hospital after a couple of months. She's asked me for referrals. She just sent me a screenshot of an acceptance letter of her being a supervisor of a major department at a major hospital. And that is why it's easy for me to do what I do. So when you just sat and said so beautifully and very powerfully and clear, you're very clear with your messaging. I was like, oh, she already knows. She has it. I want to be around people like that. Young, old, whatever. And we're doing it. We're doing it, Sierra. So when did you make the decision? I'm leaving this. Like, when was that transition?
So I guess, like you said, being vulnerable, I was crying weekly, right? Because I wasn't being fulfilled. It was a hot mess. It was a hot mess. And so I called my fiance at the time and I just started crying. I'm like, I need a moment. And I just cried. And so then he FaceTimed me to like really see me crying. And so I am literally in tears. He was like, leave. I was like, what? Because I've always said, I'm going to leave. I am going to just leave. But I never knew when. I never knew how. I was pursuing real estate. That was going well. So I'm like, it's coming, right? I just don't know at what point. You know how people make decisions when they have X amount in the bank or they've done whatever. I didn't know that yet, but I knew I was leaving. And so at this breakdown, he was like, leave. And so now I'm having another breakdown because what do you mean leave, right? We don't have no plan. How do I just leave? I've never done that before. And he has all of this on video. So he looks back at it.
Oh.
I feel good about it. But again, it was new for me. This was my first job out of college. I have two younger sisters, a role model all the time. And I'm like, I don't know. And he's like, why not? We're okay. And I'm like, no, I have to plan. I got to look at the budget. Let me figure it out. He was like, and then you're not going to do it. Right? Because budget and you see your goals and it's like, oh no, it's not time. He's like, we're okay. This was, I want to say a Thursday or Friday. He was like, put in your letter today. I was like, okay, wait, right? Give me a week. Let me just really process that. He was like, so you're going to do it? And I'm like, yes, but I'm not doing it tomorrow, right? Yeah. I had that support. I think that's huge.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I was already having that mental ping pong about leaving. And then my support system was like, I got you. Let's do it. Right. Because at what point would I have done it? You know, everybody's like, wait till all your ducks are in a row. When is that? Right. So
shout out to Dwayne, right?
yes, yes.
Because shout out to my husband too. They see us. They see us more than anybody else sees us. Even your sisters, your mom, your dad, they've seen a part of who Sierra is growing up. But now you're a woman. You have a significant other. You're entering into marriage, a whole different experience. And people can always give you their advice, but you're not them. They're not you. That is major for him to support because logically he's thinking, we got bills to pay, we got to eat, we got to take care of ourselves, but he's also he's using that emotional thinking is what we call it, where my wife is like, or my fiance is in tears. She is suffering. She is hurting. And as her partner, her protector, we need to eliminate that.
Mm-hmm.
And the same from like Devon, I would tell her, I was like, I don't think I could make this. I don't think I could stay. How long were you at the utility company?
6 years.
And when did you start dabbling into real estate?
Actively, so I had my license for a while, but actively about 2 years.
So you were there for 4 years and then you started doing real estate? Like with
So with the company 5 years for sure, and I was doing real estate 2 of those 5.
Thank you. Okay. So so you had a plan and you were having feelers out there. I literally looked, like my plan was looking for a different job in the medical field. Even HR, I talked to HR and they're like, what if you were a chief tech in another hospital? I'm like, my main boss covers all of the hospitals in the area. It would still be the same BS, even if I changed location. So I knew that was out. And I was like, maybe I could just do something totally different in the medical field. But I was so limited in my thinking. Like for you to go from working in a utility company, how did you make that jump for real estate? Where did that come from?
That is a part of Little Sierra as well. My aunt has multiple properties back in Chicago. So again, that was something I grew up with. And I knew that real estate, an asset, is a way out, right?
Mm-hmm.
I wanted to purchase properties, rent them out, have a passive income. So I knew that was a goal to get started, not only for myself, but also helping others on that journey. And again, me getting my first house is more relatable, something I can speak to. But I guess, again, Little Sierra with the real estate has come out today. So
shout out to Little Sierra, paving the way. And what do you find most in people? Because I'll transition because I could dig into. Well, I'll wrap this up with the actual moment of leaving. For those who are listening who maybe don't have a Dwayne or a Devon or a significant other that supports you in the way of, I'm hurting, I don't know what to do, but I can't keep doing this. And them to hear us and be like, we'll figure it out. It might come in the sense of a coworker. Harness that relationship. It might come in the sense of a neighbor, of a friend, of a different job opportunity. Mm-hmm. But your intuition is yelling at you. And for some, like you said, you got to have your ducks in a row. Me being Crystal, and I didn't know I was a perfectionist. I mentally could not create a plan because I felt like I was cheating on my reality. Mm-hmm. Like I was lying about my reality. I would look for a job secretively, have interviews. I can't say anything. But I had to have a plan. Like, I'm going to save money. Sierra, mentally, I could not commit to it. Like, literally, I could not just take this money and put it to the side. Because I was in such a limiting belief of, I need to be making this amount of money. I need to make sure they're paying me this much an hour, or this is my salary. I need. And every time I would go look for a job, wouldn't find it. They would pay me less. I was like, I can't take that. So tell me why it got so bad that I just ended up leaving. Some people, they just have to be pushed to the limit. And it was like, F all this. I literally took a $60,000 pay cut. Mm-hmm. And that is what rejuvenated me and allowed me to see a different perspective of, I'm going to cut this out, I'm going to cut that out, because this is killing me. If I keep trying to chase this money that is not out there, no one will hire me because I'm looking in limiting spots. So I want people to recognize, like, your limit might be your health. For some people, it's someone gets sick, they get sick. There's a death in the family, and it just jolts them into like a reality of, what am I doing? And I know that's what the pandemic did for so many people. And that's why there's so many people resigning and leaving and going to asking for more money. They're like, my life is at risk. So in home ownership, Devon and I have been lucky and blessed enough to have owned 2 homes. Thankfully, we sold our home in Northside right before the pandemic, probably 8 months beforehand. We got a huge return from that. And we're thinking about maybe selling again in the future. Who knows? Like, I'm more open to, I don't have to stay put. So those who are buying a home for the first time, what are some things that your clients are kind of fearful of or really need your support with?
Understanding the process. It is very complex, right? It's not renting. You can't complete an application and get approved overnight. But one thing I've noticed with some of my clients, they think they know what needs to be done because everybody's like, oh, I need to save more, or I'm working on my credit. I hear that a lot. I'm working on my credit. What does that look like? You know, because you'll say, I'm paying off bills, but have you seen a full detailed credit report? Not. I don't know. Can I say credit card? Okay. Yeah, because that's free, but that's not all of the information you need. So definitely sitting down with a lender that can actually pull your report and get together a game plan. Because again, you don't know what you don't know.
Yes.
Right? So you see some things, or you say, I'm going to save, I'm going to pay off, but there's no action behind it. So that's the biggest thing.
I love that, because I would get advice and you don't know until you're in it. So what I'm hearing is being aware that you will require assistance, because one, you're not a professional in the real estate business. That is just like getting my hair done. I can wash it and retwist it. It don't look like how Kay does my hair and natural abstract. I know that. She's the professional. You are the professional. So being aware that you are not the professional and that you can seek support with a professional, I wonder if it's because people feel like intimidated or they feel shame because they feel like they should know more. It's okay. And also with the awareness, what they're able to do, they could talk to a realtor like you and just be like, this is where I'm at. But also recognizing if you have someone that you're just not gelling with, what would that be that process? If you have a client that is just not gelling well with you or any other realtor, what advice would you give them in those situations? Like they're being forceful. Like the realtor is like, you got to do this, you got to do it. And they're like, it's too much. It's happening too fast. Like, what would you tell a client?
Leave. Right? And that's one thing I tell my clients. Communication. And if you feel as though I'm not performing, let me know. Give me the opportunity to adjust. And if it's still not working out, we part ways because we're in a relationship, right? And like any other relationship, if it's not working, we end it. So I don't force my clients. I don't want them to feel obligated because that's not what I want. I want this experience to be enjoyable because ultimately I need you to refer somebody to me after you purchase your home, right? So again, if that relationship you have with anybody is not working out, it's just time to reevaluate and leave.
Yeah, it makes sense to me. And I want people to hear that, to know that is an option. That's always an option in whatever you're doing. If you're seeking assistance, support, help, that person is supposed to provide that to you. So if they're not, say something.
Mm-hmm.
And if they're not hearing you, that is an option. Like, okay, I would like to end this. And no, stop emailing me. So that makes sense to me. What are some things that you enjoy about being a realtor?
One thing for sure is that impact that I'm making. I'm a part of somebody's story, somebody that didn't think that they could ever do it. And I'm here to support you, right? Get you on the right path. It's rewarding. And I think that's one of the main reasons I did leave my 9 to 5 because I wasn't fulfilled. I felt like I wasn't making an impact. So I transitioned to something that was giving me everything that I needed. It checked off all the boxes. So definitely rewarding.
It's crazy. It's ironic if we go back to what you're saying, like relationships, because like you said, it's not filling out an application and then you get the apartment that you're renting. This is a process. So y'all are communicating quite frequently, as you should be, because that's a major part of having a successful journey and buying a home is communication. So the client being able to express what they need, what they want, but also being able to adjust if that's not reasonable or feasible. Has there been a time when a client has really wanted something, but you knew in your heart that is not possible?
Absolutely. I think we all come in not knowing, thinking we can get the 5-bedroom, 2-car garage, all the bells and whistles. And in reality, we can't, especially as a first-time homeowner. We have to start on a smaller scale. And I always tell my clients, it's not your dream home. I don't want to give you false hopes that you're going to get the biggest and best house on the block, right? So just letting them know we have to start somewhere. Think about your future. And I have clients that have kids that want to leave a legacy or start a legacy, right? So just knowing this is the beginning of that and you'll get to the bigger and better house. But this is where we have to start.
That's the realest thing. I remember like wanting to have a house close to what I grew up in. And that's not how my parents even started. We weren't there to see their journey. We just saw their ending. And much like social media, we see people's ending or their peak of success. It's like, okay, now I need to get that to be successful. Like I said, for Angela's event, I was broke. And it was like $45. I'm not paying for that. I can't.
It's funny because I asked for a coupon code for the event. So I get it. Literally, Shanice posted it on Instagram. So I'm like, okay, maybe she knows the lady. And so I asked her, I'm like, do you have a coupon? So $45. And it was the pandemic, like you said. Yeah. I want to go, but I don't want to go. But then I'm like, people that pay for events, it's a different quality of people in the room. And so I'm like, okay, just pay for it. But I get you when you say you were broke and you didn't want to, because I asked again for a discount some way, somehow.
But yeah. Thank you for that. I didn't even think about that. I was like, all right, now I'm going to ask people coupon codes. What are some things that you want to share with people who are buying a home that you haven't already shared?
One thing I want listeners to know, don't worry about what the market is doing, right? We have a lot of people saying the interest rates are high, inflation, whatever. Because at the end of the day, if you are not financially ready, the market, it doesn't matter, right? Because whether interest rates are 2%, 7%, if your finances are not in order, you can't do anything. So just focusing on your financial situation and then seeing what the market is doing. But ultimately, we always say don't wait to buy real estate and wait, because it's seriously a thing. That's how it happens. So again, focus on your financial situation and go from
there. And practically, what does it look like to focus on your financial situation?
Save. I know you hear a lot about down payment assistance and closing costs, but it's not as free or open as most people think. Like, it's a bucket, right? And once that bucket is allocated, now you don't have the option. You have to wait until the bucket is filled again. So,
you're talking about for the companies,
like different
from government. Say it again.
Different grants that are available. Yeah.
I'm glad you said that, because in my networking group, there was a realtor and she kept talking about there's grant money out there for first time home buyers, school teachers and firefighters and stuff like that. And I didn't even know anything about that until I was in the networking group. So, and that typically happens at the beginning of the year, or it kind of goes in waves?
It goes in waves. I have one lender that a client needed the grant money, and she was in the process of getting all of her financial documentation. And then like 2 weeks later, he was like, it's gone, and I'll keep you posted when it comes back, right? So relying on the grants is a positive, negative situation, right? We all want the free money, but now you see what happens when the free is gone. But if you have the funds already saved, you don't put yourself in this position to have to wait on the grant. Excuse me. So.
No, that makes sense. And I misspoke. She was a mortgage lender.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah. What I'm hearing is you're really shouting to people, you have power. You have choice. That is where the freedom comes from. So even if you're saving, however much you're saving, I'll ask you right after this, what's like a percentage or whatever, you have a go-to type of thing. But if you're saving, you're giving yourself more options. Oh, I got this extra money and they have this grant money. Then I have options of what I want to do.
Yeah. And then to continue with getting the home, there are additional expenses, right? You may be ready to furnish it. You may need a moving company, or you want to get the house professionally clean before you move in. So I always tell my clients, there's never too much money, right? Just keep saving. If you get the grants, great. Now you have extra to do the additional things, but just save. to save as much as possible. Mm-hmm.
That's genius. Especially, yes, we got our first home completely clean before we moved the stuff in, and that was just amazing. Before we wrap, because we could talk about this all day, but I also know your time is valuable, and that is the perks of working with you and buying a home, that they get to have this very specific, very individualized conversation with you based on their needs and partner with you. So how can people reach out to you? How would you like for them to connect? Because I see you on Instagram posting your reels. So that's good content as well.
Thank you. Thank you. Definitely can be reached at it's.sierra on Instagram. And then that has all of my information. Crystal, I guess, should I list out my number or will you post it? Something? Okay, cool. But yeah, Instagram, it's Sierra, Ceerra. And that will give you all of my information on Instagram.
And I'll put in the show note as well.
Okay. Yes.
So I know you have another appointment. Mm-hmm. Would you like to do the think tank?
Yep.
All right. So this is the time where we do our think tank segment. We'll spend about 10 minutes together of working through a stuck moment you're currently going through. So I'll let you go ahead and share. What are you currently stuck with?
So I was stuck in trying to figure out, should I leave, my corporate job? Now, so I sometimes battle, did I make the right decision? Right?
Well, I'll ask, what is the right decision? You said sometimes you think about, did I make the right decision? What does it mean to make a right decision?
That's a good question. I think it goes back to leaving a well-known company that people strive to get into. And I just did it without a plan. Like I just left without a plan.
So at the end of these very short 10 minutes, what would you like to achieve on feeling and knowing you made the right decision?
My happiness and my peace. I can definitely say making that decision. Okay, so let's go back. I struggle with making the right decision financially. Financially, I can say, because in real estate, you eat what you kill is our saying. So in corporate America, you get paid. Go ahead. I see your face.
No. I'm a visual. So I had to put your words into, I'm like, eat what you kill. Oh, yep. Got it. Okay.
Yeah. So in real estate, if I don't sell homes, I don't get paid. We are paid, commission versus my 9 to 5. It was every month. Like I knew I was getting paid. So I guess making the right decision financially that was a struggle. But on the other side, my peace. I have so much peace at this point. I'm so much happier, no stress, because again, I'm doing something that I love. I'm making that impact. I see the difference that I am making and being a part of people's lives, that journey, right? So I guess that's the difference between making a right decision financially, but making the right decision for my emotional state.
And you and 1,000 million other people are thinking and saying the same thing of having a 9 to 5 and having that quote unquote security.
Mm-hmm.
I just show up and I get paid.
Mm-hmm.
And you mentioned like this well-known company. I just left. And based on what we shared, you had very valid reasonings for leaving, because your awareness bursted open. You realized this job is not just me receiving money. This job is forming who I am. This job is allowing me to eat, live, do the things I want to do. Got that. But it's still requiring more of me. And those parts are your emotional well-being. Those parts are also your values. And these are things that we weren't aware of. Your physical being, like, is it draining you mentally? Are you not able to sleep at night? And so when we look at the 9 to 5 versus entrepreneurship, we're like, but this is secure. This is not.
Mm-hmm.
In the financial look of it, yeah, it makes sense that you would see that and be like, I don't know. That is completely normal. So what if, because you kind of shifted your energy when you said, well, for my well-being, I know I made the right decision because I have peace. I'm happy. But for the other, financially, I don't know. So what was that awareness that you had?
So knowing that I have to determine which one is more important to me. And just like you said, you did a $60,000 pay cut, right? And that shows that your peace and happiness weighs more than $1. And I think that's something a lot of people have not yet realized or are ready to tap into, right? So I think that was the shift.
Mm-hmm. So where are you at?
What do you mean? Where am I?
When you said some people they're not able to realize it or they're not ready to make the shift. Where are you at in those two instances?
I made the shift. I realized it. I made the shift. Like I say, I took that leap of faith, right? And I just know as long as I'm happy and I am at peace, it's all going to work itself out. And I think we make a certain amount and our lifestyle is based on that. And you start as what you don't need, right? Whether you have a $60,000 salary or $40,000 salary, it's some things that you don't need. And you can adjust accordingly and still be happy. But that goes into people that are materialistic, but that's a whole nother, topic. So I guess it depends on how you define your peace. Because some people, like my peace, I said it was in the water. Yeah. But somebody's peace may be a new bag. So, don't know.
So with that, knowing that your peace is in the water, right? And you can access water. You've been in pools, you've been in Jamaica, you're a fish, so I feel like you will find any water because a fish needs water to survive.
Yeah.
Say it again.
Even the bathtub.
I knew it. I love soaking in the bathtub. That didn't even come to mind. Shout out to you and your intuition. Like that's what I mean. You will find a way. And I'm hearing you do have that thought of, but did I make the right financial decision? And yet you're like, but my peace was at stake. Your husband even seen that, where it's like, that is not who I'm rocking with. They're not going to tear down this beautiful woman that I chose to be my life partner. We're not doing that. Mm-hmm. And you knew that to be true. So with that awareness, and you're building, you're literally still you just started. And we forget you went to school for years and didn't get paid shit. Mm-hmm. We forget we get into an intro job and we're taking all the shit. We're not being able to flex our time, be able to do what we want. That still took time. So with that awareness, how true is it that you didn't make the right decision?
Yeah, you're right. And I also think that things that I do have opened up more because I was in this bubble, right? And now that I've popped that bubble, I honestly don't know if I would have gone to that event that we connected at. Would we have became partners if I was still in that bubble? So I think that awareness of tapping into who you can become or that other potential. So.
The way you just said, pop the bubble, I literally heard, like, that is what you did. And yet, you hear the sound. It is a little, like, surprising. And I feel like you leaving is still a little surprise. You still have a little shock. That is normal. Mm-hmm. Have you given yourself grace in the way you popped your bubble?
So I think that's a ongoing journey, because it's some moments that I reflect, and like I said earlier, did I make the right decision? But that's when grace has to come back in. Like, you're at the beginning. You haven't given yourself enough time to see how far you've come. And I know it's some things that I look back and like, I didn't even know that was something I would ever do. Like, being on your podcast, I told you how I want to tap into speaking engagements. And before it was like, I don't talk to people. But because I popped that bubble, I'm redefining who I am. And I think that to our community of Loving Me Through, right? So it's just tapping into the unknown when you give yourself the chance to do so.
Yeah. And you're doing it. I'm watching it. I get to be a part of it, Sierra. And I want to offer you this. If you can take it or leave it. When you have those thoughts of, did I make the right financial decision? Because they will come. Actually, I'll ask, when those thoughts come up, what do you do after you have those thoughts?
When I have the thought that I make the right financial decision, I think about me crying. That's the first thing. I think about my mental. So it's like, which one do I want, right? Yeah. And it's, nope. I choose my sanity every time. I choose my sanity every time. So it's definitely a split second.
Yes.
A split second. Like, I don't even allow it to linger. It's more of a, okay, this bill is due tomorrow. Man, did I make the right final decision? Yep. And that bill will get paid somehow, right? So I definitely just reflect back to where I was and feeling. You don't forget that. You don't forget it. So.
And I'll offer this because I had that feeling when I shared it with our hiking tour guide with Devon for his birthday. And when we went to go get something to eat, he was like, when you were talking about your story at the hospital, do you still like feel it? I'm like, yes, I'm still in it. Like, and I've been wanting to not tell the story because I don't want to keep reliving it because I felt stuck telling the story over and over and over again. And he was like, you're okay, right? You have created. And I was like, I needed to hear that. So when I tell my story, I do remember those feelings, but I also make sure I end it on where I'm at now. So I would encourage you have those thoughts, it comes up and think about that state, but replace it with something empowering, like whatever that might be. When I say that, what comes to mind?
I literally had an event last night, a networking event that was in my old building, right? So it was like walking through the doors and it was like, but I've overcome it because I'm coming to the building for a different reason, and I didn't share this earlier, but Dwayne and I would go to work together. We were in close proximity of our jobs. We would pull up, Crystal, and I would cry before getting out. And so he'll circle the block and he's like, babe, I need you to get it together. And I'm like, I just don't want to do it. I don't want to do it. So those experiences, you don't forget that. You don't forget it. And so when I have that split second, I'm like, I can't go back. I can't go back. I'm on to something bigger and better. We all know what we don't want, right? So focusing on what I left and how it's going to keep pushing me because I don't want to go back to that ever. I vow to myself, never will I put myself in that position again, because then it's not just me. I'm putting other people in that position too, because I'm not at peace when I have conversations or any interactions. I'm giving off that energy. So I think full circle.
And you still did not answer the question.
Uh-oh.
I don't know if you are aware. I asked, when you have those thoughts and then you go to, nope, I remember what that felt like. What about adding something that is empowering, that is freeing for you?
So like an affirmation, something?
Maybe, even if it's, because what happened was when I asked, you did it right again. You said the story all over again. Those emotions, they will keep coming. Mm-hmm. I can offer a suggestion. You can modify it the way you see fit. When those thoughts come up, no, not doing it again. I have now created this whole Loving Me Through community. I just found a home for my client. Oh my God, my client just texted me after she bought her home or he bought his home, a picture of her kitchen and her cooking. And oh my gosh, me and my husband about to take a trip. Oh, I'm about to get in the water. I'm about to have the thoughts, feel the feels, but solidify with something that you're creating so that your brain doesn't automatically just keep putting you in that, oh man, what was me? Not what was me, but yeah, because this happened, that happened. I'm saying that because it happened to me.
Okay, so two things, and I hope I get back to your question. Crystal, when I say I just want to thank you for always no, that's not what I asked. It's not okay. You can do better, because this is twice in 24 hours you've just checked me, and I'm like, but I appreciate it, right? Okay, so now going to the question. One, I think when I am being productive or I'm having things flow, whether it's in my business or my relationship or whatever, I don't have those thoughts, But have that thought, it happens so quick, and it's let me focus on the contract I have to write for my client. Let me focus on the event that we're planning. So I think when it happens, I do shift it. I don't dwell on it as much as I did when I first made the transition. Because at the beginning, it was uh-oh. But now it's split, and I'm focused on the positive, or it doesn't happen as much because I've created something that I am passionate about, or it's more rewarding. So I hope I hit the question that time.
What are you going to do when it comes up? When the thought comes up?
So I do this a lot. I say, no, C, not today. I don't have time for that, right? So I'm gonna tell myself, we're not focused on that. No, a quick shake, right? Not happening. Throw my hand up and move on.
Now, if you can tell yourself that, now uplift yourself, because you're still putting yourself down. Mm-hmm. No, Sierra, we're not doing that. Stop. We got other stuff to do. You already killing it. You're already doing it, Sierra. So I want you to take time, however much time you need. And you can still have that thought of, nope, we're not doing that because we are about to go to the water. We're going to plan a trip with my husband. Or think about what you are doing. Because the thought of no is rejection or lack of. Yes, it's not building. So that's what I'm just bringing the awareness of. Words have power. Mm-hmm. And my journaling allow me to see all that I'm creating, but I still forget what I'm doing. I still dang, I did that too. Oh my gosh. So just remember how dope you are, but you will have to say it. You will have to keep reminding yourself, because that is new. So it'll become a habit. So when you listen back to this, you take a few. I really think water, and you do so much. So if those thoughts come, think about what you want to put in place of adding, of enhancing what you're doing and spotlighting. But yeah, we can end it there. I cannot wait to see you tomorrow. This was amazing.
Yes.
This was fun. I can't wait to see you tomorrow. And for those who will be there, I'm glad y'all came, because again, this is going to be out after we have our event. We'll have another one coming up. So have a beautiful weekend and Friday, Sierra. I really appreciate you.
I'll see you tomorrow.
Right.
Bye.
Sierra, the time we spent together was priceless, and I'm so thankful that we both stepped out of our comfort zone in our most vulnerable states when we first connected. It's always worth it, and luckily for us, we reap the benefits of doing so in real time that day and the many days to follow. I hope you continue to expand on your think tank moment with me and you find it incredibly helpful, insightful, and encouraging for days, months, and years to come. And peeps, if you haven't already, please hit up Sierra on Instagram at its.Sierra, its.CEERRA. And you can also visit her website at sierrapatton.kw. She's now Sierra Rumber, but y'all know, name change, it might be a minute, but that's www.CEERRAPATTON.kw. Sierra is 1/3 alongside me of loving me through the community that we are building and creating. And I mentioned before with our rainbow picnic was a huge success in terms of every single person was stepping outside of their comfort zone. Every single person was looking to connect with new people. Every person recognized that they wanted to be more and be around other women who were striving for more. So I'm so happy to announce that Sierra, alongside with Elise and myself, we're creating our next event for Loving Me Through, and it's going to be focused on Friendsgiving. We've already set the date for Saturday, November the 5th. We haven't finalized the time, but we are focusing and creating, working with a chef. So this will be a catered event. It's going to be amazing, like on another level. And I cannot wait to share more details with you. But for now, those are the little links and spoilers. However, if you don't follow Loving Me Through now, please do so at Loving Me Through on Instagram. And we're going to have more information for you to register and you to show up. Make sure you reserve your seat at the table to enjoy and engage in conversations of growth, personal development, being vulnerable, step into your power, recognizing your gifts, and so many others. Again, you get to be alongside myself, Sierra, who you just heard from, and also Elise, who you will hear more from. And you get to see us grow in real time, and you can grow with us. Don't just sit on the sidelines, join us. And for the Unstuck Yourself with Crystal Simmons podcast, if you haven't already, you can follow us on Amazon Music, definitely Spotify, definitely Apple and Google. Leave a review, share with a friend, tell everybody all this dopeness. Also, share Loving Me Through community with your community so that you'll have a friend, or maybe you want to go solo and meet new friends. We welcome that as well. Until next week, peeps, trust the process and be patient. Bye.
Foresight Media Production.